had an argument with my mom this morning. Really intense. You know that feeling you get in your heart when you've had an argument with your mother? It's like you're walking across a bridge, but you can't get to the other side. And it's one of those misty bridges over some kind of river that's 100 feet down in Africa. And it's a bridge that's essentially made of rope and wooden planks, and it swings in the wind. You could fall off of it at any time. As you walk down the bridge, trying to get to the other side, and you're traversing the gorge, you sink. And there at the middle of the bridge is your mom. She's waiting for you, and she's got some Dunkin' Donuts, or a box of Dunkin' Donuts with sweets inside. Cinnamon roll, another 2 cinnamon rolls but smaller, and Dunkin' Donut holes, which can't really see very well because I've wrapped them in plastic wrap. So my mom is on that bridge. It's misty, it's gray, we're in the middle of Africa, and the bridge is forming like a U, and we're at the bottom of the U, and underneath us is the raging stream/river. My mom, she's leaning against the rope like this, with her arms crossed. She's just looking at me and shaking her head like this, kind of face palming. Shaking her head like this, looking down in disgust and sadness. My mom has discovered that I'm having these images of my mother's passing, and it's eating me up inside now that we've had this argument. She's older, elderly, 80. And when I stole the sweets this morning, I took them to my bedroom and I squirreled them away in the closet after I wrapped them in plastic wrap to preserve them for my breakfast for the next 4 or 5 days. I've already had 2 of the cinnamon rolls. She was really pissed at me because she quite rightly diagnosed the situation as me putting my pleasure above the pleasure of other people. I'm visiting for the holidays, and I'm kind of bending a lot of rules, and she has very particular ways of going about her business in the house, very specific guidelines for etiquette, so that those of us who are visiting can get along harmoniously, and yet she doesn't feel like we're taking over. And when I put the sweets in the bedroom closet for myself only, then she got pissed. So she was out there on the bridge, leaning against the rope, almost falling over, but you know, when people are angry, sometimes they can do the craziest acrobatic stunts and they don't even care. And when you don't care and you're not nervous, you got great command of your musculature and your skeletal structure, and you just don't fall over into the abyss of Africa. She's like, you know, Mark, I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand the choices you've made for your life, the decisions. It seems like you're just going nowhere. You've got no plan. Everything's just the great unknown. It's a mystery with you. And then I find in your closet that you've taken the sweets that I brought home yesterday after my prayer group. My mom goes to a prayer group where she studies the Bible and she discusses scripture with other ladies. She called me a bigot. that I'm a bigot because I stole these donut holes and I wrapped them in saran wrap so that I could eat them 3 days from now so they would still be fresh. And then, as if that were not enough, she piled on other toxic epithets like that I was sexist, that I was racist, that I was homophobic. Right? Because I stole the sweets. You have any idea what it's like to be called a bigot by your mother because you stole some sweets in the morning? Well, we've been arguing a lot lately in the holidays, I'm going to be honest. She is a fierce opponent, very logical, very rational, and she has this aptitude for deconstruction. And she just dismantles my arguments, my behavior, my ideas, all of it. I was telling her about a week ago about another kind of, well, not another, but just an experiment that I was doing. Needless to say, when she referenced that experiment, and she ripped me a new asshole for stealing the sweets, I was a little bit devastated, because you don't fight back when your mother's 80. You just kind of take it. So yeah, I'm crushed. She called me like, well, I already told you. She brought up this experiment that I did recently. I was really curious about false flag attacks. I'm sure you've heard of them going around, and I wanted to stage a false flag attack against some of the squirrels in my neighborhood. There's this trash can. It's a green trash can. It has this. It's a public trash can. It's green, and it has it's got metal exterior, little grating. Not grating. The grates. The bars are like this thick, and there's squirrels going in there all the time. It's like Grand Central Station. So I've been really curious about false flag attacks in the media, where, you know, some kind of terrorist thing will happen, and a lot of people speculate that this is in fact not terrorists, but government agencies like the CIA or FBI or whatever staging false flag attacks so that Americans will be afraid and they will relinquish their civil liberties for more control by the government. And so this is a slow but inexorable march toward the complete abdication of civil liberties for a much more authoritarian state. Well, I wanted to conduct my own experiments on squirrels. I told my mom about it. It was an experiment. What I did is I put some firecrackers underneath the trash can, and I got a really long fuse. And when the squirrels were there, I lit the fuse. Now the fuse is like a good 50 feet away, so it's like in the cartoons, and you could see the fuse going to the trash can, and then and then the squirrels are just streaking out of there. They jump. It's like they explode out of the top of the trash can, and they jet in every direction. And I'm talking about 20, 25 squirrels, because that was their cafeteria. That's where they hung out. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, wow. Okay. And so then I have my GoPro camera, and I've got the footage, and I'm holding it there, and I stay there because the GoPro can go for like 4, 5, 6 hours, and I just wait. And they come back. You should have seen the way those squirrels they attacked each other. And the bigger squirrels were going on top of the smaller squirrels. The smaller squirrels were being squirrely and getting all anxious, and it was like chaos. It was chaos. I'm not an expert at the body language of squirrels, although I have a few books about the body language of squirrels, and I have studied them unofficially, kind of informally in my own right over the years since I did a college paper on squirrel behavior. And what I think I saw, though these are unconfirmed investigations, I haven't got any peer review on this, But I think what happened is that some squirrels, this could be confirmation bias on my part, but some squirrels kind of asserted authority and said that they kind of need to control the entire trash can for the well-being of all the squirrels there, right? And those little squirrels were just so afraid of firecrackers, okay? And they were so afraid of the bigger squirrels that they just said yes. That's what I could read from, 50 feet away with my GoPro and my informal but extensive study of squirrel behavior over the last couple decades. And I was really, really interested in the conclusions that these squirrels would draw, in as much as I can understand the conclusions. But from what I could tell from the body language and the yip, 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 of the squirrels, they thought that well, first of all, the bigger squirrels told the smaller squirrels that it was a third party of squirrels that lit the firecrackers. Although I don't think the squirrels call them firecrackers. I don't know what, I couldn't quite disentangle or decode what exactly or how exactly they describe the firecrackers, what they think of the firecrackers, whatever. So, anyways, where was I? Yeah, the third party of squirrels. So those third party of squirrels were the new enemy. Now I'm over there with my GoPro and I'm like, no. I was the one who set the firecrackers. But these squirrels, the bigger ones, had to make up some story to secure the trash can. And anyways, I was telling my mom about this on the bridge. And then she ends up calling me a terrorist. I'm the terrorist because I did a false flag attack on the squirrels in my neighborhood by putting firecrackers there. So she has called me a sexist, a racist, a homophobe, and a fucking bigot. And then on top of that, I'm a terrorist because of my false flag experimentation with the neighborhood squirrels. And I'm not going to fight back. She's 80. I don't know how long she's going to be on this planet. The most I can muster is I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Is it possible that you are maybe being a bigoteer? Of course, I got to explain to her what a bigoteer is. A bigoteer is someone who derives personal profit from calling another person a bigot. It's from Timothy Ferriss, the guy who did the 4-hour work week, the 4-hour body, all this stuff. He's a life coach. Life coaches, whatever. Of course, that sets her off. And then she connects some argument that we had 3 or 4 weeks ago, okay, about Vietnam and subjective truth and objective truth. And I was telling her, I was like, what the Americans did over there to the Vietnamese people. And then she starts calling me anti-American, which is the worst of the worst insults. So no matter what I say, I'm either sexist, homophobic, racist, let's see, bigoted, a terrorist, anti-American. But I was telling her, imagine a guy, he's in the army, he's walking through the jungle with his army buddy, he's got a Marlboro in his helmet, he's got a cigarette here, and he's holding a flamethrower. And he's marching through the woods, and he's palling around, and he comes across a village, and he sees 4 or 5 little kids, and he fucking barbecues them with his flamethrower. And why does he barbecue them with his flamethrower? Because of the quote-unquote objective truth that he's received from his superiors, who have been told by the U.S. government that communism is making inroads into South Vietnam, and we have to fight the North Vietnamese, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, Mom, I'm not anti-American when I critique that. What I'm really doing is establishing that the Vietnamese woman has a subjective truth, which is watching her children being torched alive. And that subjective truth will be something that permeates her entire life from there on. It will determine the way that she looks at every aspect of reality. It's the most powerful thing in her world. It's not equivalent to the objective truth that the communists are invading South Vietnam, and it's not equivalent to the imperative that soldier feels to torch the village. That subjective truth is fucking cosmic. It is like an atmosphere, a mood that saturates everything around her. It is a field of being and knowing and feeling, a field of feeling. It is her life from that moment on. And that is truth. That is a subjective truth. And then she bitches me out again. She says, oh yeah, I know about you and your subjective truth, your relative truth. That's why you took the cinnamon rolls into the closet and squirreled them away so that you could have them later, because you put your subjective preference, your needs, your pleasure above everybody else in the house. I was like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. Right? I was wrong. My mom won. Because I saw what I did, and I admitted that I was wrong. I put my pleasure above the well-being of others. I don't think she was right to call me a bigot, though. And yeah, it was a very subjective truth. A very petty subjective truth. It wasn't a truth that would orient my entire life. Like the subjective truth that orients a Vietnamese mother's life. When she sees her children being burned alive. And the bridge snaps. And the mother and the child fall into the African abyss.